everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Let's Do It Afraid podcast. Yvette and I are really excited. We have a super cool guest today. She is a social media influencer with more than 13,000 followers and growing. She has this iconic wild boot collection that I know Yvette and I are super excited to talk to her about. She's also a mom of two beautiful kids and a wife. So everyone, please welcome Nona.
Hello, everybody. I'm like, I'm nervous. It's been a while.
No, don't be nervous. We're friends.
Yes, definitely. We're all friends.
So I just want to say how amazing Yvette and I were talking about this over the weekend, how you kind of gave us like this really cute shout out on your social media page on Instagram. And we got like 12 followers or something in like 2 days. And to me, it just shows how much your followers really love you and how you've probably built this really amazing connection with them where they like really trust you, because they're like, oh, if she's saying that these girls are cool, like they're probably cool. So it just shows that you really have an amazing fan base. So
Yeah.
we're just really thankful to you and we're
I'm
so
like,
happy
no
that
need
you're
to
here.
thank me, like when I do things like that, it's just because it's like it just grows and it's like it's something that I feel like I want to do. Like it's never just it's hard, but I was like, and it might be one follower, two followers, but one thing that I've learned over the time, even if it's just 12, some people might be like, okay, what? But for us, like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, and then once those 12 people like get involved and hear that it's gonna spread out to another 12 people, and it's just like it's a big old spider web and it just keeps growing and growing. So it makes me happy to know that I can still count on my little following to like also support others because like I said, if it's just one person out there, it still makes a big difference. And that's what I've learned over time. But
Yes,
I'm
thank you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much, Nona.
Of course. And it's weird, like, like the influencer thing. Like, I'm like, I've never liked that title, but it's small things like this. Like, yeah, like I technically did influence somebody out there that follows me to
Hmm.
go and follow somebody. It's kind of like just something that I have a hard time with, like the title, but sometimes like these little things and like even when people send me messages, like I appreciate this and that, like it really makes me happy because I know it would mean the world to me. So I can just imagine like for other people. So I'm glad.
Yes, thank you. And I mean, not that Yvette and I are like, I mean, we don't have this huge following or anything like that. We're not necessarily doing it for followers or to get famous or anything like that. But it's just always interesting and cool for me to be like, wow, like y'all care about little old me, like what I have to say. And of course, like our family and our friends are all rallying behind us and supporting us. But now that we actually have people that are coming in that don't know us personally, I just think it's really cool that they would even care, about what we have to say.
It makes a difference in the world and it makes you feel it makes you feel like a certain way. It makes you feel like maybe you are doing, sometimes we have that thing like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this or that? But it makes you realize, okay, maybe we are doing something good. And maybe those out of those 12, like we can really influence them in some kind of way or like help them out. And sometimes that's what we need nowadays, just to talk to somebody we don't know sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. So, in your own words, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So yeah, I'm Alondra. We were just saying I like to go by Nona. I'm used to going by Nona. Everybody knows me as Nona. It's weird when people call me Alondra, but yes, I'm Alondra. I am 30 years old. I live here in California in the Bay Area, which sometimes throws people off, but I live really close to San Francisco. Bay Area girl. I have an older brother and a sister. Grew up with them with my parents, and I'm currently married. And I have two kids. I'm a stay-at-home mom right now, so my life is very, very interesting. It's never boring. When I have free time, I go to social media. It's one of my favorite things to do. I like to connect with people. I like to help out people with like their outfits. I've always loved clothes. I've always been the one to overdress and wear like out of like character things or like everybody's like whoa, but I've always liked it. It's always made me feel good, especially now as I got older and my body has changed, after having kids. Even once you're taking care of yourself, once you get older, it's still not the same no matter how much you try to take care of yourself. And nowadays I feel like I try to also bring body positivity into the mix of all this aside from my fashion, just because it's hard nowadays. And I hope that like I said, if I make a difference for one person, then it makes me feel like I'm doing something good.
And I do want to say that I love watching your outfits. I love your style so much. I think that you've probably done your homework and you've really studied, or I don't know, maybe you haven't, but it looks like that's how it comes across to me. Like you've really studied your style and really gotten to know and feel and get comfortable in your style. And I'm like, this girl could wear probably sweats and some cool boots and a hat, and she would look phenomenal, and you would rock it and you'd be so confident in it. And not everyone has that. Like I'm 38 and I still don't feel like I know what my style is. So I just love seeing that for you.
I'm like, it definitely takes a while to like get to that. I think I just went through so much at a younger age, especially with like self-consciousness and all that, that eventually I was just like, I need to do what makes me happy. And it was clothes. It was dressing up. I got into the Western side of it all. Like I loved wearing boots and everything. And though there's a lot of amazing Western influencers and Western styles out there, like I definitely try to make it my own. Like I don't have to wear like Western clothes to make it Western. Like that's one of my favorite like things. And I kind of like to put myself up for that challenge. And it definitely takes a while. Like, I used to always be known as the skinny one. Like those they say I'm flaca, flaca, and now everybody's like, huh, what do we call you? Because obviously, like, I'm not as skinny as I used to be. So it was hard when I was trying to transition into getting used to my style, but now getting used to my style with a different body. So it did take some time and it's hard. I'm like, but I think because I've always been into it, like I will spend time on Pinterest. Like I love watching other people's videos that like professionals and like actually talking about, capsule pieces and all that. And I don't know. Like I feel like in another lifetime I was like somebody's stylist or something, and I'm just glad that like I got used to it and like I was able to accept who it was and just be like, this is what I'm gonna wear, and if you don't like it, then turn around, cover your eyes, or don't wear it. It's that easy.
I love
And
that.
it's never too late. You could always be a stylist
I love that
today.
for you. I love that. I was watching all your stories where you were on vacation, and I was like, this girl is me in another lifetime. I can't, me and my body are just like, I can't wear this outfit. I can't do this. But I see everything you're wearing, and I'm like, how does she rock that? Looks so good on her. And I'm just so bad at myself. I'm just like self-critiquing. I tell Myra this all the time. I'm like, I'm the worst at myself. I'm like, mira, el pelo por acá, mira que lonja, mira acá. And I'm like, so bad. It's so bad.
Worst critic. And believe me, I have a hard time sometimes. Sometimes I'm wearing something a little bit too tight. And I'm just like, that lonja needs to go. I'm like, how do I cover it up? But like, I've always been good at wearing like tight, like fajas or like just like tight leggings or tights underneath just because it makes me feel comfortable. And I'm like, you know what? Like, even if my lonja is going to show with tights, like with wearing the proper garment underneath, I'm like, who cares? That's my body. And it took a while because before, like, it would just like hang and it would just be like, hello. And I'm just like, God, but I'm like, I'm not the only one that has it. I'm like, we all struggle with it. So why not get myself more confident about it, and in return also get somebody comfortable and be like, you know what, F it. If she's doing it, then why can't I do it? Like, what makes a difference?
I do love that you are so confident, and I think it inspires a lot of people to also be like, F it, I'm gonna wear what I want to wear. And some people will love it and some people will hate it, but that's okay.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, it makes you happy, and that's the number one rule in life. Like, who cares what others think? Like, if it's making you happy and it's a healthy choice or like it's something good for you, then why not do it? Like, it sounds crazy, and to some people, like they might be like, "What in the world?"
I understand. It's hard. It's something we battle, I think, all of us. I don't know. I always tell Myra it's something that we have to work on, but it's hard.
It
Yeah.
is. It's definitely easier said than done.
That kind of brings us to our first question that we like to ask all of our guests. That is, what is a fear that you are currently struggling with today?
Oh, that was a really big. I was like, kind of when I was hearing the beginning, I was like, oh man, kind of got some teary eyes there because I feel like there's a lot of fear in this world nowadays. Especially doesn't help like what we just all witnessed this weekend and everything going on, and there's a lot of fears, but I think my biggest fear right now is losing myself to make other people happy. I battled a lot and I tried a lot to let that go. But I feel like as I start getting older and my daughters are getting older and they're starting to like see how I am and everything and mimic, like I think I want to like put like a bigger facade that, like this is how it is, this is life, be more positive. But it's like, no, but also like show them like the genuine, the real side of life. So I think my fear is definitely just to make others comfortable or make it better for them because like you care for them and you don't want them to struggle or have a hard time. So you kind of lose yourself in what you really are or like in your feelings or your emotions. So I think that's kind of what I'm just like just keep being you, just be as real as you can and be honest and genuine. And, you know, sometimes things are not as nice, and just be honest with it. And it's kind of what I try to do with my girl, is just be as brutally honest as I know a 5-year-old can take right now, and a 1-year-old. I think definitely just making sure that I'm doing things to make me happy, and I'm not pretending to be somebody else to make other people comfortable.
That's really cool that you said that, because I think Yvette and I have talked about a lot about like the people pleasing, right? I think that's kind of like what you're alluding to, like being a people pleaser and then kind of forgetting about who you are as a person because you're trying to mold yourself into what everyone else wants from you. And my daughter, she's 17, but she calls me out on it all the time. And she'll be like, Mom, stop being a people pleaser. So I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, and I just feel like mine, like, it's not so much me, like, I want to please everybody, but it's definitely, I feel like it falls under that category. It's just like, I definitely want to make sure everybody is happy and content. I'd rather be the one, like, that's like struggling or anything. So, yeah, like, you're trying to mold into their area, into their situation. So they're fine. They're not struggling. They're not having a hard time. But, you know, F us, like, let's just keep it on our shoulders and have us have fight these demons, like, inside.
Like your
And
needs
sometimes,
aren't being met.
and that's the, and I think even as a mother, like, that's just, once you're in a mother and you're a wife and all, like, I feel like it's so easy to just be like, make life easier for them, have me struggle. And I think that's just maybe a motherly instinct, like, as just as a woman, maybe because of all the emotions and feelings we feel. But I'm like, if my husband's fine and my kids are fine, then you know what, I will. I've gone through it once, I'll do it again. But you know, sometimes you do need to be like, okay, let me do what's good for me. Like, let me be selfish for a second.
Yeah. I feel like I get a lot of mom guilt when I do that, or just guilty in general. Like, it doesn't have to be my kids, but even when I go out, I'm like, I should be with my kids. I'm like, no, I need to be doing things for myself too, because then I leave myself on the back burner and then that all loads up. So it's not good for myself. And you're really good at boundaries. Like, I keep seeing your posts about your wedding and like how you did it however you wanted to do it. I was like, that's awesome. Like, I hired somebody to help me with event planning and everything, but a lot of the times it's like, oh, pues tienes que hacerlo así, tienes que invitar a la vecina. And I was like, you were so good at that. And I was just like, it's fine. I don't mind. I love parties. I love a lot of people. Like, I love big gatherings. So I was fine with it. But then I was like, it wasn't as intimate as I would have wanted it to be. But at this point, I'm like, it's okay. It is what it is.
And it was a struggle, like, especially for my wedding. Like, I think I make it also purposely more vocal because I know there's still people that are really, really like they're booty tickled about it. But it's people that I still don't talk to. They still don't say hi to me. So I'm like, why are you feeling this way? And then that's what makes me more like, thank goodness I did it the way I did it. And believe me, it was not easy because my husband also has a big family. He comes, you know, we're from the same town. So he's like, well, I want to invite so and so because of this and this and that. And I was like, okay, well, like, we'll just leave it. I was really straightforward with my mom. Like, I'm really good at setting boundaries with my mom and being like, this is what I'm doing. There is a few that I let slide to the crack because I was just like, I get where she's coming from. Like, okay, like, it's not going to be the end of the world. But when we were starting to plan, my husband was still living in Mexico. So he still had his mentality like, the whole town is my friend. Like, we're all great, one big family. And once he moved out here, he was here probably for like almost a year, maybe the other night. Yeah, like he was probably here like about a year and a half, almost two, when we finally went back to our wedding. And I told him, I'm like, you see how things really change, like when you're out of the little pueblo, because he realized his friends, not all his friends were really his friends. His family, just because they were blood, doesn't necessarily mean he needed to maintain this relationship with it. Because as soon as he got here, a lot of people didn't reach out to him. And I'm like over here airing his stuff, but it's conversations that we've had. I'm like, and I also too, like once he started moving here and I started actually having my day-to-day life with him, like I also lost people and they never reached out to us, never wanted to meet him or anything. So you just kind of put that, and I told him, like, put it in perspective. Like, I love partying, like I love having a big get together. I come from a big family. I'm like, but this is a very intimate ceremony. Like, we've gone through a lot, and I rather just have fun with who know us and who love us and want to celebrate with us. And even now, he's like, I'm glad we didn't have that big old like 500 people, todo el pueblo like invitado wedding. He was like, because I would have hated it. I was like, yeah, you couldn't even handle this wedding. You were being a bridezilla. I was like, now imagine like a bunch of other people. But it was hard. It was hard. And to this day, I'm just like, I don't regret it. And I love that I can just look around and everybody was there. Like, I didn't have to feel obligated to give somebody extra attention because they're like, everybody knows me, everybody knows who we are, like how it is. So it's like, we all partied and we all had a good time. And it was just the celebration that we always wanted. So Like, believe me, like even then, like we had a family, blood related that we were just like, I haven't heard from you. But that was my rules. Like, if you haven't heard from them in a year, they don't need to be part of our anything, nothing. So that's kind of how we base off everything now. So, but it's not easy. You have to really have like set it, and it took my husband a while, but we got it through. And yeah, I definitely don't regret it. And I tell everybody, it's your wedding, it's your guys' day. So,
Yeah. How long ago did you get married? Were you a little bit older or were you like super young?
so we just celebrated 5 years of married
Oh, okay.
first. So just
Congratulations.
years on
Congratulations.
TV, and our big wedding, our religious wedding, was 3 years ago, last week as well. So, but roughly about 5 years he's been here. We've been together, had married life. We did have a smaller wedding too when we got married at TV, just because we were fixing up his whole papers, and we just had to have all this evidence for to fix his papers and make sure that we weren't like faking our relationship or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, but for
Yvette,
us, what was yeah.
Yvette and I know of all about that process. Yes.
Yeah, no, and we're like, you just gotta. I was like, it's not faking it, but we were just like extra. I'm always extra. I'm like, no, we're gonna have a good wedding, like, and honestly, like in a way, like I loved our smaller civil wedding, just because it was so unexpected. Like it wasn't, we didn't plan it. Like it was from one day to another. Like, I mean, we planned the little stuff, but we didn't think it was gonna get the way it did. I think we're all just amazed how like it came out too, and then. Well, my bigger wedding, of course, there was so much planning that at the end of the day, you're just kind of like, oh, thank God that's like out of the way, even though
Mhm.
you had fun and everything. But yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been years.
Yeah, the reason I asked is because I think that that understanding probably came with you being a little bit more mature and older. Like if I got married today, like I said, I'm 38. If I got married today, I would, like you said, if I don't talk to you in a year, you're not invited to my wedding. Like it would be something very small, very intimate, and I probably wouldn't spend as much money as I did. I'd probably want to use that money for like the honeymoon or something cooler, like buying a house, something like that. But when I got married, I was 19, so I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. I couldn't even drink at my wedding.
Right?
So I kind of like let my mom and my aunts and everyone kind of take control of the situation. So my wedding was complete chaos. I mean, we didn't have enough food, we didn't have enough drinks, we didn't have enough cake because there was so many people. I didn't
Yeah.
know half of the people at my wedding. So I would definitely do things a lot differently now.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big thing. Maybe it's like another mini quinceañera. So they're like, invite everybody. Because, like you said, you took your tia and your mom to like plan it. But definitely maturing. As I get older, I'm always just like, I'm glad we did what we did. I was like, but I probably would have still gone smaller. Like, I probably still would have done a little bit of less of this and that. But like you said, like once you start maturing, you know that it's more like an intimate thing and more just the people you really need than
Yeah.
versus big old ordeal. But believe me, like I wish I could have had a big old wedding sometimes because I just love seeing like everybody come together in town. But I'm like, for me, that just wasn't it. People that do have big old weddings, especially in my town and all that, like I'm glad you guys have like the patience and the courage to do that because I'm like, I just be like, what the heck are all these people doing? Like, get away from me. So I'm like, I'm glad other people do it, but I definitely enjoy the way that we did it and would definitely do it the same if I had to.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I did not so much, but I'm glad you did.
Hey, sometimes you just need an excuse to party. Just celebrate a random anniversary. Like, let's redo this all over again.
Yeah, I told my husband when we do our 25th anniversary, it's gonna be way different. Like it's gonna
Yeah,
be me, you, the priest, and our two kids, and that's it. And then we're
yeah.
going on a big honeymoon. That's all we're doing.
And that's all you need sometimes. That's all you need. And I love it. It's
Yeah.
it's less stress free, and you get a
Yes.
vacation.
Yes. So we talked about your really, really cool boot collection. I don't even know like how you have so many boots, but I love seeing them on. It's like and your little outfits of the day, and you're showing your outfit, and you're always wearing your cute little boots. So you've also talked about maybe launching a boutique of your own. Is that still something that you are interested in, and how's that going?
So I definitely do want to. I've been saying it for a few years now, and the only reason why I haven't 100% done it is because I don't want like just to do something just to do it. I want it to be different. There's a lot of boutiques nowadays, especially like if you're in the western side, like they sell the same things, they sell the same products, they come from the same vendor. Their style is very similar. Like I don't want to just do a boutique, and if I do boutique, like I wouldn't want just like random items. Like I would just rather just make like personalized like t-shirts. One of the things like I've been really wanting to do is launch like boot socks because it's something you don't really see around. But in order to wear boots, you need some good pair of
Yeah.
socks. Kind of what I've always been wanting to aim. And then just like hoodies or anything like that. I have one that like my mock that I made. And it's just little things like that. I was like, but I want to put like a lot of thought into it. Like I don't want it to just to be random items, and and I'm really weird about, I wouldn't want to call it merch, but like when somebody sells stuff like that, they like their names all over it and their faces, and I'm like, I want it to be something that people can wear and like you don't know really where it came from, or you can just like it's just like a regular old something, and it's not so obvious that I came from somebody that's trying to like grow and everything. Like I always think about beanies, like just certain things like that. But I still been searching to find exactly like where to get it done, how I want them. I have a lot of different like images saved that like I've worked on and everything, but it takes time, especially when you want it to be like something very special. Like I don't want to do it just to do it. Because if I was for that, I would have done it a long time ago and I probably would be over it by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really good point because sometimes you have like an artist or an influencer or somebody that you really like and they come out with this merch, but you don't necessarily like I don't want to wear unless it's Selena, because if it's Selena Queen, I will
Right?
wear anything with her face and her logo on it and wear it proudly. But if it's just like anyone else, like I don't want to have a picture of you on my chest or, like it's just, it doesn't look, to me, it doesn't always look cute with what I'm wearing. Like you're saying, it'd
Mhm.
be really cool to have something you can wear with anything and it's gonna work out with your outfit. Like you don't have to worry about like it has some random person's face on it, or maybe it has a logo that you don't really like.
And then it's definitely like something that like I want it to be, very minimal, like not so obvious, not so in your face. But like we went back, like talking about followers, like I don't have a lot of followers, compared to others. But what I hold really close is that the little ones, the little number that I have, they're very, very, very supportive. And I would want to give them, good quality, good stuff, like hard work into it because they've helped me so much. Like before I had my old one and it was like almost 50K followers. And I'm like, I was getting the same interactions, I was getting the same like support versus having a smaller, more intimate page. So when I got my newer page, I was like, it's so much easier. Like I can interact with so many other people. Like I don't get overwhelmed. I'm not following just like whoever just to follow. And they're following me and genuinely like going out of the way to like refollow me or look for me again. So I definitely want to give that part in return to like have them like wear something nice, good material, So it's some stuff like that don't doesn't just happen overnight. So it's still something that I definitely want to work on. And every time I wear my hoodie, I'm just like, I just want to just have stuff for everybody. And but one day, it's not easy starting something like that, especially stay at home mom with kids and everything. But it will happen. I'm manifesting it. It will happen.
And Yvette did kind of mention that to me as well, because I had no idea that you used to have this other page with like, 50,000 followers, and then you decided to start a new one. And we're conscious of the fact that you might have less followers, but you were okay with that. And I think it just really speaks volumes, like I said, once again, to the love that you have for your followers and you want to have that connection with them. And you don't want it to just be like, like you're not just doing this for money, like you're really doing it because you want to build a connection and you want to build
Definitely not doing it for the money.
like you want to do it because it's something that you're passionate about and you want people who are going to use their hard-earned money to buy something that they're going to really love.
Because sometimes, like, I mean, we see it, like other people bring out their merch and all that. You're like, oh, that's kind of cute, but I'm like, those prices aren't cute. So like, I don't want to spend like that, like you said, like to have your face on me or a
Yeah.
big old weird logo or anything. And I mean, no hate to anything like that, but people support everybody, in their own kind of way. And but like you said, like it's just I've come to really love my little community. So I was like, I want something nice for them. Like I want to do it. And yeah, I always get asked, but definitely still working on it and still in contact with certain people like to try to make it happen. But it's gonna take a little bit on my end just because it's not something that I can do all day every day to get it out there.
I'm
Yes.
excited.
Yeah, we're excited. We can't
Yeah.
wait for when you do it. Let us know so we can
Yes.
check it out.
Yes. Believe me, I was like, it will be known everywhere. I
Yeah.
was like, for those that follow me, I was like, I won't let people pass it up. But yeah, so I was like, I hope I can do it and keep me busy too, because sometimes you need something for yourself, especially as a mom, like you said, and a wife. Keep yourself distracted and give yourself some time.
Yes. So you have been really open about your mental health struggles, which is something that Yvette and I talk a lot about on this podcast, and it's really inspiring to us. How do you cope with anxiety during tough times, and what practices help you get through those moments?
I feel like it's something that I feel like one will never actually truly master. Especially at least with my anxiety, it's always different. Sometimes I don't even expect it. And sometimes it's hard because I usually have a 1-year-old chasing me and, or if my daughter's home from school, but I really try to, like you said, set my boundaries. Like if I know I'm just not having it, I've learned to be very vocal, especially with the people, with my immediate family. They've been the ones that have been in this journey with me the longest and have helped me so much. So it's gotten to the point where I'm just very comfortable with being like, I need you guys to back up. I need you guys to let me be. And if I just run out of the room and go hide somewhere, don't chase me. Don't, like, I just have to be very vocal. And I feel like with what's helped me a lot is just communicating with them. Like, don't ask questions. I will answer it later on. But at that moment, when I'm getting ready to have an anxiety or anything like that attack, my instinct is to run and hide and be alone. I don't want anybody around me because it's just sometimes you're feeding off their energy as well. So they're nervous. They don't know what to expect. And like you're feeling it, or at least the way I am. And I start feeling their energy. And I'm just like, it's not helping. So definitely communicating, just letting them know, like, hey, I feel something coming on, or ahead of time, like when you see that I'm just not okay. Sometimes you can't even like explain to people or like let them know. Just tell them, like, if you see that I'm not okay, just let me not be okay. And once I am okay, we can talk about it. We can do whatever you want. And I definitely just try sometimes to just do activities too, to just kind of avoid like it getting bigger. I sing color a lot with my daughter. I do diamond painting a lot, or I read because it's just like it's gonna take my mind off what's really going on with me mentally, and I'm gonna focus on that one little project. So when I first started off, that was my thing, just coloring. Like I just color and color, and I'd get a kindergarten book or something because sometimes like the pictures are bigger and it's less detail, so you can just like kind of get it done quicker. And then when it's more detailed, like you're also like distracted more, and it kind of gives you more anxiety, at least for me. So I'd go to the dollar store and just buy it and just color and color, and that's what helped me a lot. And I think also just communicating. I'm glad that I have a really good support system where I can count on them and communicate with them and, let them know either at that time or beforehand, like, hey, if ever anything ever like this happens, just let me be, let me breathe, and we'll go about it after like it all passes. But it's never easy, and it's always a difficult moment, especially like when I'm having an anxiety attack or anything like that.
I love that you have that self-awareness to know what helps you in those moments, and also to kind of know when it's happening so that you can be like, hey, if I just need to get out of the room, like, don't follow me. I'll be back when I'm ready to come back, because I don't think a lot of people have that awareness. At least I know I don't. Like, I still haven't really found something that kind of helps with, like, I don't have as bad. I think Yvette has a harder time with anxiety than I do, but sometimes like social anxiety, things like that, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't really know how to like cope with it yet. So I'm still learning through, and talking about it to my therapist.
Yeah. No, and like I said, like even once you discover one thing that works for you, eventually you'll get like a different kind of anxiety or something else is going to give you anxiety, and you have to learn how to work with that specific problem because like social anxiety, when I walk into a party, a lot of people always like, oh, she didn't say hi today, she's in a mood. And I'm like, no, sometimes when I'm in big crowds, like as like outgoing as I sometimes come off to be, like when I'm in big crowds, like I'm just like anxious. Like I still feel like people, like it's still kind of that like insecurity at the same time. Like I still feel people have to look at me. Like I still feel like, somehow like attention's on me for some reason or something. And it's just my insecurity. So I always just get to parties and sometimes I just like look down and I don't really say hi until like I've sat down, I've like gotten into my environment, and then I slowly start saying hi to everybody. They're like, "Oh, you're finally saying hi," and I'm just like, you have to adapt to the situation you're in, and that's one thing that a lot of people they say. This is like I come out like grosera or like rude because I don't say hi right away, and something like I'm still trying to adapt to the environment I'm in because if I don't, I'm just gonna be overwhelmed and I'm not gonna have a good time.
Yeah. And I think that's also a reminder to people to be like, not everything's about you, right? Like I try to tell that to myself if I don't know, if I'm driving and somebody flips me off or they, cut me off or something. And I try to tell myself, like, Myra, it's not about you. Like they're probably just having a hard day. So kind of reminding, people like, hey, if somebody doesn't say hi to you right away, like, they might be having a hard day and that's fine. It's not about you. Like, don't take it so personal.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I have to remember too. Like when I'm walking in somewhere, like no one's looking at you, no one cares. Like, but like people, we're still humans. We still have certain insecurities. Like there's still things that like I can come off as confident, but there's still things that you like struggle back and forth. And one day you just wake up and you're not feeling good about yourself. You're not feeling good about anything, and you feel like your life is like horrible, and the next morning you're just like, oh wow, I was just, really cranky. Like I just slept wrong, but and I've just always tried to be self-aware about that, and also be aware with other people, because I know other people, they might not even realize that, you know, why they're feeling it or whatever. And I just try to be very mindful, knowing that we all deal with some kind of mental illness or like problem, or a little glitch sometimes, and it's normal. Like I feel like it's something that we should all just be more mindful about, and just it's nothing to be ashamed about. But it's hard to cope with everything, and it's taken me many years to get where I am. And even though I feel confident sometimes with my mental disorders, it's still hard and it's still tricky, and you
Mm-hmm.
still have to fight for to be okay.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I've had panic attacks and anxiety for a while now, and every symptom can be different. It throws me down. Health anxiety. Sometimes I feel like if I hide, I probably get worse. I don't know. I'm also scared of being by myself for some reason. So like that's my worst nightmare. Like me muero and nobody's gonna know, or like who's gonna take care of my kids. It's like I don't know what it is, but like after my first panic attack, like everything changed. Like before I didn't care about what anybody had to say to me, about what I was wearing, about anything. And now it's like everything. I'm self-conscious. I'm reading rooms. I'm like body awareness, spatial awareness, everything and anything. And like, yeah, who cares if we say hi or not? But I don't know if that's like cultural or if that's just society or expectations we put upon ourselves. But when it's like the other way around, I'm like, oh, am I doing something wrong that they didn't say hi to me? But then I'm like, then when it's the other way around, I'm like, oh, I should have said hi to them. Now they're gonna think that I'm not happy
Yeah.
today.
No, yeah, definitely. Like I know, so I'm right away. Like if you don't talk to me like the way you usually do, or you're having a bad day, but you're not like being your normal self with me, like that's one thing that I've always had a hard time. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I say? Did I upset her? Like, did I
Yep.
think that out loud and like they hurt me and like now they're mad or like something? And I'm just like, luckily now, like my small circle that I do have, like it's not, I don't have to worry. Like they know how I am and everything, and I know them pretty good too. So, but before with other people, you're just like, she didn't give me a tight hug this time. Like, damn, she's mad at me. Like, I go eat it. Like, I'm like, and then you realize, like, with the other shoe, you're like, why can't people just understand I'm just having a bad day? Like, okay, they're
Yeah.
probably having their own issues too, but your mind it's a very powerful thing, and sometimes it's for the bad. Like, you just
Yep.
don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Sometimes our mind be lying to us, right?
Oh yeah.
That's one thing that I feel like has to help. Like, we just got to remember, what are you really feeling? What is really your worry? And what is really making you feel this way? And then once you get to the root of it, you're like, is it really happening though? When you go to sleep tonight, like, did that actually happen? Like you say, like they don't say hi to you, but later on they come back like, oh my God, I'm sorry, like I got here, like I was running late, da da da. And then you guys have like the best time of your life ever, and you're like, look, I wasted an hour like worrying about like if I did something, if I'm a horrible person, and then to end up having like a really good day with them or whatever.
Yep.
So we definitely got to figure out like how important is it to stress about this.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's just like sometimes catching your mind, right? Like putting yourself back into perspective. You're like, I'm fine. Like if they're having a bad day, sometimes I have a bad day. I tell Myra this all the time with like driving. I think because there's road rage and things of that nature, I'm good about it. And I'm like, I gotta just chill, like, but I don't know. Maybe if there wasn't road rage, maybe I wouldn't. But it's something that freaks me out. And I'm like, I don't want them coming after me with my kids in the car. So
No,
just like,
and like I feel like before, like younger me, I'd be like, I was a honker. Like, no, like you're not putting your like. There's a blinker for a reason. Like that's my biggest pet peeve while driving. There's a blinker for a reason. Use it, and it's a very convenient place. It's right next to where you're holding the steering wheel. Just stretch a little bit and just use it. And I used to like honk and like yell. And I'm like, no, nowadays you don't know what you're gonna run into. So just be like, they just slipped their mind. They're
yep.
just, figuring out life. They're having their own day. You forget sometimes too. So I'm just like, now you just gotta just drive. Just get to your destination and cállate.
Yes.
You did mention that you are a stay-at-home mom with two girls.
Yes.
How do you manage it all? Because you do wear a lot of hats, not just physically, but you know what I mean? You do your social media, you want to start the boutique, and then you have your girls and you're a wife. So how do you manage it all? How does it not become so, overwhelming?
I think saying it's not overwhelming would be a lie, because it is. Even if I feel like I have it together, like something's gonna slip through the cracks. I'm gonna be like, damn it, I couldn't do the job of 30 people today. God dang it. But I think, like I said, I think it really helps that my partner is very supportive and very hands-on, like with the girls, the house, with everything. My priority is just to make sure that my kids are fine, they're changed, they're bathed, they're fed, and my husband can come home and at least have something to eat. Because other than that, like we're both doing what we can for each other. But sometimes I don't. Like if it's too much for me, the first thing I let go is social media, even though that's like my happy place, and that I think to myself, I'm no one big, I'm not losing anything. That could be on the back burner, and I have left it on the back burner for a long time, especially now at home. Like I don't have time to get ready every day and like take pictures and style outfits. It was easier when I was working because I had to get ready, so I'm like, okay, kill two birds with one stone. I go to work and I get ready and I do my social media. But nowadays I'm just like, I want my energy for my kids, I want it for my little family, like when my husband comes home and we can like all hang out and play. Like, and it's hard because sometimes I get selfish and I get like, why do I have to put what I like on the back burner? Why can't I just be like, no, you guys are gonna feed yourselves today? Like, like it's just those little things, and it's hard. It's hard.
It is.
And I think when I feel like I succeeded is because maybe like I've plotted out during like the day before and I've made a schedule to myself and I give it my time, or even during the week, like, okay, like my goal this year is at least one day of the week, whatever day it is, you're gonna be on social media, you're gonna post. Like today, perfect. I got ready, to be here with you guys. And now that I'm ready and I can do that, and the girls are one's at school and one's being, has a babysitter right now, take pictures, upload things, do things on social media that will make me feel like I was good on that aspect. But then I'm over here like, okay, now I'm taking advantage of my babysitter instead of having like my youngest here with me, like she's out there with somebody else. But it's hard. It's hard. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how I can manage it because sometimes you even ask yourself, like, how did I manage to do all that in one day? Or why didn't I get that all done? And we're like, we just expect so much from each other. And I just feel like if our little people in our little circle are okay, like my family, then if I didn't clean today, I didn't clean. If we cooked ramen today and that's what we ate, well, you know what? That's what we ate. So I just try to just what's gonna stress me out less, because once I'm stressed and once my anxiety starts, it's gonna be a bad day for everybody, because then my husband's gonna try to fix me and he's gonna hate to see me that way, and then the girls, we're gonna kind of be leaving them alone because we're trying to fix it. So I'm like, just do what is gonna make you be able to breathe comfortably during the day. But it's hard. It's hard. I don't think anybody has really mastered how to get it all done in a day. And if they do, like, kudos to you. But I feel like you're probably so tired, and it's like sometimes like, is it worth it? Like doing all that? Like toda esa chinga, like, is it really? But that's just my like mentality. Sometimes I'm like, I gotta think that, sometimes less is more because you're not so burnt out and you can still have time with your family. So I don't think I've mastered it yet, and I don't know how I do it sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think anyone has really mastered it. And I think that the people that kind of make it seem like they probably have a lot of help in the background that we're not seeing,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's like a babysitter or a nanny, or because it is a lot for one person to do, like it's impossible for one person to wear all the hats and do everything perfectly. It's not going to happen. So thank you for being honest and transparent about that because
I was like, and aside from it being like physically exhausting, it's definitely mentally exhausting trying to get. I mean, there's been like stuff out there that comes out like how much a stay-at-home mom would really get paid in the real world if she did all the things that she has to do in one day. That, unfortunately, there are some people that maybe some husbands or some wives like, no, I need to get all this done all today, and no questions, no if buts or maybes. Like I got to get it done. And it's kind of like they tell you like, well, if you do this today, you get your this is how much you make, and if you do this, now add it up together, and like, so like if you already seeing that you're pretty much doing a job of like 3 or 4 people, like you also have to be, gentle with yourself and patient and be like, today I will tackle this part and tomorrow I'll tackle something else. And especially now with me, like it's hard to keep the house clean. Like
yeah.
I was like, I try to do the kitchen. I was like, and the rooms, I was like, but the rest of the house, like, it's hard to keep clean. I was like, especially with the girls, like toys and everything. And you just got to be gracious with yourself. You're like, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Once they're done, we'll just pick it up and re-clean. And like yesterday, I cleaned, and then everybody came over. Like I had dinner for everybody, all my siblings and all my nephews and nieces. And the house is a mess, but I'm like, it's okay. I'm like, I keep looking at it, but I'm like, it's okay. Once I'm done, you know, Renata's still gonna be with my aunt. She's still gonna be taken care of. I'll get a little bit done. But, you also have to be gentle with yourself.
You have to be kind to yourself
Yeah.
for sure. So, was it scary? Because I know you mentioned that you did have a job, 9 to 5 or whatever, that you had to go to, and then you transitioned into being a stay-at-home mom. Was that transition hard for you? Was it scary? Were there certain fears that maybe you had to kind of overcome? Because it can be kind of, I know for me, when I took that leap of working a job, secure job to, being a stay-at-home mom, but also working full time with my husband, who's a self-employed, where he's an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
really scary to lose that income and health insurance, like all of those things,
Yeah.
right? It was really, really scary for me. So, did you have any similar experiences to that?
I definitely, and I think I still do to this day, like sometimes, and I think it just comes to show, like, I think the big picture is the fact that like I do live in California. I live in the Bay Area. It's so expensive. Like it's expensive everywhere, everywhere. But obviously, we get paid a little bit more to like live in our economy, but that still isn't enough for, what it is here in the Bay Area. And it was scary. I'm like, I felt like like we both decided, me as my husband, because my parents were going to Mexico a lot. They live with us, so we didn't have that like extra babysitter, like the girls would stay with them or anything. So when they started transitioning to staying more in Mexico, I'm like, okay, like Emiliana's gonna start school, she's gonna start kindergarten, and then Renata's gonna be born. Like, what are we gonna do? Who's gonna babysit? My parents aren't gonna be here. So we both decided together, like, I'll stay home. It was only going to be for a year. I'm going up on 2 years now. And it's still scary because you're just like, that extra income. Like, thankfully, we can do it. The house that we live in are my parents, and, it's paid off and everything. So, like, it's just minimal bills. So, in that way, like, I'm so grateful, but it still doesn't stop you. Like, I feel like I'm not contributing to anything. I feel like I'm not doing my fair share income wise. But then he like, and I always tell him like, I'm just gonna go back to work. He's like, if you want to go back to work, go ahead. I'm like, but we got to pay now for extra babysitters. Now we have to pay for it because before it was my mom, so we just like stay here, like, and then commute and all that. Like you have to take it all into consideration. Um, so it's hard, and I feel like it's what's scary is like it sucks that we don't want to make the money the center of everything, but sometimes it's realistic. And if I'm having a hard day, it's because I'm beating myself up because I'm not financially able to like help. That's why I said, I was like, I definitely don't do social media for the money. Like I don't get paid. Like I get paid very little, and it's never a steady income. Like it's, you never know when you're gonna make money and when you're not. um so I think it's still hard, like in that sense. And sometimes too, like I feel, and when I was working, like I kind of had my me time in a sense. Like I'm like, okay, I could breathe from the girls. I don't have to worry about them if they're crying, where they're running off to, what they're putting in their mouth. And sometimes that was hard too to accept, like, oh, like I just miss like going to an 8 hour shift without like mentally like, like seeing the girls and making sure like they're okay. Like you still like have a, but so it's definitely hard. It's definitely hard. And sometimes I'm just like, I'm just gonna go back to work. Like, is it really worth it? But I get to like, enjoy these moments with my girls and pick them up, take them to school, spend the day with them. So you had to figure out, what's really gonna matter at the end of the day. And if we don't really need that extra income, would it be nice? Yes, of course. We all want that, like, that money wiggle room. But sometimes we just got to realize that just spending more quality time with them is kind of more important at the end of the day. But
Yeah,
it's hard.
it is hard. It's like you said, we live in an area that is very expensive. We also live in the, Bay Area. We live in Sonoma County, so it's very expensive to live in California. So that was like really scary for me. But then I'm like, God's gonna provide. Like He's got it. We're gonna be fine. And but I do miss the only thing that I do miss about working in a job outside of my house is the people. I miss talking to people and interacting with people and having, like you said, that me time that, even if you're just going to lunch with your coworkers or going to happy hour or whatever after, like I do miss that aspect of it because it can be lonely being at home.
I definitely do. When I was pregnant with Emiliana and when I had my wedding, I was with a really amazing company and I made really good friends and I still talk to them to this point. But I'm like, sometimes I'm like, as much as that company drove me crazy, I'm like, I miss at the end when we would just like all four of us just get together. We're like, okay, we're gonna go lunch together or we're gonna go, like you said, a happy hour. And like I feel like that bubble, like you can be so selfish with it because you're not sharing it with other friends, you're not sharing it with like your family. Like it's like this is my only little like those are my little people. Like I
Yeah.
don't know, like it's a different bond when you actually make good friends from your job.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what I miss. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, are you sure you guys just don't want me to just come back real quick just so we can have an excuse to hang out? And then sometimes like, okay, we're gonna plan to go out, and then life happens and we just never like go out. But it's definitely people that I miss. And I, like you said, like I definitely like that because I feel like it's just yours. Like you don't share it with your kids, you don't share it with your husband, you don't. And I think that's what I cherish more about those group of girls. Back then. And yeah, definitely it's something that, I probably don't think of as much, and I probably don't recognize it. But now that you mention it, it's like, yeah, I definitely do miss that.
No, I miss it too. Like I love, like you said, the flexibility of taking my kids, picking them up. I love being home with them. I would have them with me home all the time if we could. We've talked about this, Eva and I. So I love being home and available to my kids. And I love the flexibility of working from home. I make my own schedule, things like that. But it's just that social aspect of it is really hard to let go.
Yeah. And I was like, it's always bittersweet. Like you like it, like you're doing this, but you're just like I said, like for me, it's just like that financial side of it. And even then, like sometimes if I want to just spend money like a lo tonto, like I just want to like, do I need that? No, but I'm gonna buy it because I'm making my own money and I can buy it. Like even sometimes I'm just like, "Ugh, I just need like shopping therapy or something." Like I don't have the heart to do it because I'm like, that's my husband's earned working money. Not that he ever says that's mine, but as one person, you're just like, no, like I would just like, what do you need? I'm just gonna buy you stuff, and then like I'll get my like itch off of that. But it's hard. It's hard. So then you're like, we're never really satisfied. Like we want to be at home all the time, and I help out at my daughter's oldest school, so I'm like, I get to see there, and she gets so happy when she's like, oh, my mom's here helping. He's like, that's my mom, and all that, and like I get to be part of that. And sometimes I'm just like, I think I want like to back up and like get something just to like have that like me time or anything. But it's hard, and I still fight with that. Like the other day, like I was sending resumes again, and then once like I hear back, I'm like, what am I doing? Like we can't lose like all this right now that we're already kind of getting used to our schedule and how it is. But you know, it's guilt sometimes too. It's guilt. It's always guilt for us.
Yeah. Even though like what you're doing is a very rewarding job and it's a very important job, but I think that because we aren't paid for it, right? We kind of um think that it doesn't have as much value or we're not contributing enough. But I mean, you're probably doing the hardest job,
Yeah.
right? It's like you're raising humans. Like what the heck?
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's probably the more valuable. Like the more like you know, you think back, you're like, I'm glad I was able to spend that time, or I went to that field trip with her, or you know, when they get sick, that's when I'm just like relieved. I'm like, oh, you know, seeing your kid sick is the worst, but knowing that you don't have to stress about like calling work and doing all that, you can just do it. Like, because even then you feel guilty like calling into work, like my kid's sick, like so it's like a double-edged sword. Like you don't know sometimes, and we just got to know that we're doing it okay, everything's fine. Like if it's not meant to be, something's gonna happen where you're just like, okay, now I have to get onto it, now I have to find a job, now we have to change courses or whatever. Like there'll be a sign, and we'll adapt to whatever it is if it ever comes. But it's hard.
So we've shared a little bit about anxiety before, and then how did having a second child affect your mental health? Did you experience any postpartum?
Not with my second. I think my second it was very different. I think I struggled the most with my first, just because aside from being a first time mom and doing it, I did it alone. My husband was still living in Mexico, so during that time he wasn't here yet. I did have my daughter here in California. I did have the support of my sister and my mom and everything, and I feel like thinking back, I feel like I did hit postpartum with my first, but I was so trying to avoid it because I know how bad my depression can get, and I didn't want to be that now that I had a daughter. Now I'm a mom, so you feel like you can't be depressed or anything like that. Um, with my second, it was nicer because my husband was there. He was living everything physically. He was there to help me with the nights and all that. But I think my anxiety was just my first, like the attention, what's going to happen. You obviously, like the first year, like it's very hands on with the baby. I mean, every year is, but the first year, like they're not as independent. So I think my anxiety was making my oldest feel left out, and not intentionally. And trying to like balance time or give her time, like sometimes we'd be like, okay, let's go to the movies, just us, or something like that, because I'm just like, she is a very, very aware person. She is very intelligent. She's very smart and she's very vocal. And there's times when she's like, you guys don't like me anymore. And I'm like, and for her to say that, it's because she means it. It's not just because she's like saying it, they look up at each other. Like she's very mental, like aware with the emotions as well and everything. And it would hurt. It would hurt. So it was like, I think the anxiety was just trying to make sure she was okay. Like, hi, we love you. Like, you're still here, but your little sister, she needs a lot more help right now because she can't do much on her own. So the first year was probably the anxiety of that. Like I think my second was like she's been in a more like stable like household than when my first was born, because we were just all over the place like trying to figure out life. It was more chaotic. And when the second came around, and not that, it was just so much more like, okay. For her it was calm and relaxed, but we were doing a lot for the first, so she didn't feel left out, or I didn't want her to go up and be like, yeah, I'm the oldest daughter. Can you tell? I'm like, no, So I think that was my anxiety. And luckily, I didn't feel like I had any kind of postpartum. I feel like you did definitely probably you lose your identity for a bit and you have to like try to get that back up again. But I'm glad that my postpartum didn't get with either of my pregnancies as bad as I would have imagined, just because I know how rock bottom I can hit and how bad it can get. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think my anxiety was just trying to, you know, spread your love between both of them.
hmm And I think that a lot of people don't talk about that enough, but I kind of experienced that as well when I had my second child. I think I cried for like the first month uh, for my first child, my daughter, because I felt like I was, like me and her, she was like my little best friend, and we did everything together. We were so close, and anything like we would read together, paint together, all these things, and I couldn't do that anymore, or I couldn't do it as often anymore.
Mm-hmm.
When I had my son. So I think I cried for like the first month because I felt so much guilt over
Yeah,
now having to spread myself between two kids and not just one, and thinking like, oh my God, she's gonna be scarred for the rest of her life. Like,
exactly. We're like, yeah, we're gonna have 4 kids. And my husband was like, after we had the second one right away, he was like, no, I can't. He's like, I can't spread my time, especially they're girls, they're daddy girls. So he has that hard part of it. I'm just like the mean mom. Like I'm just the one that's always like putting them in their place and everything. But they're like, dad is a fun time. He's like, I can't stretch my heart out. And I was like, oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. But this last time in Mexico, that I recently just got back, I'm just like, you know what? I think we're okay with two, because it was just so hard, especially because Mexico's a big part of us. Like, going for fiestas, going in, like, it's something we do. And I just saw it from a different perspective this time. And I'm just like, no, like, we didn't enjoy as much as we could because, it's hard to accommodate to the two girls and what they need and what they want. And, us having our time, like, when it was Emiliana, like, she fell asleep, cool, you go home, me and dad are, like, going to continue. And it wasn't. And then I told him, I was like, no, you know what? Like, I don't feel like my family's done, but I definitely do feel like this is what it's gonna be like for a good while. Like, I was thinking like, maybe in the next year or so, and I'm like, no, like I'm probably gonna wait. Like, and if it happens, it's gonna happen. But I'm like, I can't, like he says, my husband says, he's like, I can't picture myself like spreading my heart so much, or like dividing up my heart so much, like because they all deserve like a whole. And luckily we put our relationship above the girls, and I know it's a lot of people don't agree with that or whatever, but was like, but if we're okay, the girls are okay. And then he's like, y tú eres la más celosa. He was like, so he's like, I'm screwed. I'm like, that's for sure. I was like, because you're mine. Like, I chose you to be with me. Like, they're gonna leave us one day, so you gotta make me happier. So he's definitely like, no, like con tres viejas. He's like, imagine we have another girl. I was like, oh, we're for sure gonna have another girl if we do. So we just like kind of just like, no, like we're just gonna leave it like that for a while. And then like I finally realized it. I'm like, nah, we'll be fine. He's like, yeah, because all you do is push them out and like yell at them. He's like, I'm the one that's like, I'm dad. Like they're daddy's girl. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. So I'm
No,
just like, no.
and I agree with you. I think when mom and dad are okay, like the kids are going to be okay, right? Because it's like if we're not okay, if we're fighting, if we're arguing, or if we, end up splitting up, like they're the ones that are going to suffer the consequences of those actions. So I agree, and I applaud you for putting your relationship first.
Yeah. It's something that takes a while, for people to get used to, or to even have that like common agreement in a relationship. Because they're like, no, like, like my mom and then the girls, and we're like, no, like we chose to put our lives together. We know the reality of life. The kids are gonna grow up, they're gonna go get their own lives, and then we're gonna be stuck, me and you again. And if we didn't work on ourselves all these years, by the time it's just me and you, we're just gonna be bickering and whatnot. And I always try to be like, we have to like make time for ourselves. We have to go eat by ourselves sometimes. And as much as we want the girls to join us and be part of that, like we have to remember that this starts between me and you. And obviously, if something ever happens, and the best thing is to do is to, separate versus trying to be a family and not have it work out. And it's still gonna make the kids happier. Like they're still gonna live with that thing, like, yeah, my parents split up, and that still kind of brings some other like, trauma or anything to them. So working on each other and knowing that we really want to be together and like focusing on us first before the girls, sometimes you have to. Obviously, there's situations where just like, okay, you go your way, I'll go my way. The girls need us. Like, but at the end of the day, remembering like it's you two first, you and your partner first, and then the rest follow.
Yeah. And speaking of spreading yourself thin, I mean, Yvette has 3 kids, so I don't know how she
Oh
does
yeah, no.
that.
And I was excited for 3 because I was like, I know once I have 3, I'm gonna want to have 4 because 3 is just a weird number. Like I always tell my mom, I was like, why didn't you have another one? Like it's so weird. Like I only have like 2 siblings. Like why couldn't you just like even out the score? I don't know. But I'm just like, no. I was like, I was already an accident to begin with, so I wasn't even supposed to be here, much less the 4th. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I applaud it and I want a big family. I really do. But I'm like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard. I want one more, but after anxiety, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I can. It's hard. Like, I don't want to be on meds, and then I'm scared of like any after effects, and the side effects that I did get with all the meds I did take like scare the hell out of me, and I like lost sensation in my hands and my feet for a period of time, and I was freaking out. So it's
No,
like
it's
it's
when you're
hard.
trying meds at the beginning. It's just like you don't think that they can do this. Like they can make you feel those kind of things. Like it's hard.
Hmm.
But I was like, I would love a big family, but I'm like, maybe less is more sometimes,
Yeah.
we don't do, but like I said, like, I feel like obviously, like, I don't think 3 is a lot. I mean, I think 4, like, I was like, I think it's like, it's perfect to have it, but kudos to you guys that, I was like, if we're barely making it alive with 2, like, you guys are keeping 3 humans alive. Okay. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can barely breathe with 2. I'm good. I'm good. I'm done. I know I'm done.
No, I always say that sometimes I do have 3 because then I count my husband. So I'm like, it depends. So I was like, because men are men. Whatever. At the end of the day, they still need that little
Yeah.
support.
We're going to wrap it up because I know that you probably have so many things to do, but we just want to reiterate how this has been so much fun getting to know you on a deeper level. There are 2 questions that we like to end all of our interviews with. And the first one is, what is the worst advice that you've ever received? And what is the best advice that you've
I think the best advice, I'm gonna start off with that because I think the best advice I've gotten is my mom. I was going through a really bad breakup, and she was like, if your parents are okay, and your immediate family and or whoever you hold close dear in your heart is okay, the rest doesn't matter. So she told me, she was like, worry about the little circle, not the big circle. Like, focus on the little. Sometimes it's good to focus on the big picture, but focus on the little. And it was just the fact that like I was just closing myself off, and you know she was like, if we're okay, why are you worried about what this one person that you just met is making you feel, or how they're treating you? Like he's like, I don't need you to worry about me. She's like, but it's a motivation. She's like, if we're going to be the ones that are going to stand with you, whether it's your sister, your best friend, there's some best friends that come turn into your family and everything. Like, focus on the little circle you have, and make sure you're happy with that little circle and they're happy. And then from there, everything else is just going to fall the way it needs to, and don't stress about it. And it's just something I'm just like, I carry my relationships very near and dear to my heart. Friendship breakups and all that, like they've hurt because I've hold them really close to my heart. But I realize that everybody has to go their own way, and everybody has to find their own life, and people come and go, and hold those little circles because they're kind of your backbones. You need a backbone like in every direction and from every area and from a lot of people. So just focus on my little circle. I don't know what the worst advice I've gotten. I was like, I don't think I've ever been asked. I don't even think about it. Like, people just tell me things and I'm just like, okay, in one ear and out the other. I don't know. Like, I know, like, there's such cliche answers, and I'll even give them like, oh, over time everything will get better and all that. But I mean, I feel like sometimes there's probably bad advice, but you have to realize how to like turn it into good kind of advice. So I think I've always ignored the bad advice because I'm sure there is something horrible that people have told me, but I just cannot think about it. I'm like, I just that just comes to show how much I really did not like. I did not care for it, but it's very interesting though. I've never got asked that. I'm gonna like think about this. I'm gonna have to come up with this because I don't know what's the
Think
worst thing.
about it, and you can always send it to us in a message or,
Yeah,
you know.
no. Like
So
maybe people saying like care what other people like. Oh, ¿qué va a decir la gente? I'm like, that's that's probably like the worst thing I've ever heard. It's not advice, but or don't do something in order to make other people comfortable. Like, no, what? No, make yourself comfortable first, and then people will be comfortable around you if they like you. If they don't, they can walk away. But I'll have to think about this one. I mean, you guys got me good.
All
no,
right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you
No,
coming
thank you
on.
guys. I appreciate it. And lo que ocupen, I'm right here. Whatever you guys want to chit chat. I was like, I had a good time and I appreciate everything. And, I appreciate that you guys are doing this stuff. I was like, it makes me want to like even keep going and trying to make my podcast again. So
Yes, do it. Do it. We're
I
here for
appreciate
you.
you guys for, awareness to this.
Of course.
It's just a lot. I'm like, I'm so not creative. I'm not.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot. But I mean, I tell Myra this all the time. This is like my mental health gap. Like, I don't always get to talk to my therapist, but I'm like, this helps me so much because it's like I'm not alone and there's this whole community and everybody needs healing. Like, a lot of us in our community are like, no, estamos bien. But it's like, are you really?
Like, no, you're really not.
Yeah.
No, and that's what I've always like, like when I did have mine for the short, like it was just like talking about cliches. I always live like why they are. Like, let's talk about the things that people don't want to talk about. Like, and I'm just like such an open book. Like, I'm just like, no, like I want to try to reach to other people and hopefully heal one little brain at a time.
Yes.
I'm like, we
Yes.
can't fully be healed. At least accept, who you are, and what, you know it sucks. We want to. I always like sometimes when I'm like really sad or whatever, like I just like want to cry and I'm like, why did this illness choose me? Like, why couldn't it be something else or whatever, when you're in the mix of the moment. But I'm like, once I'm out of it, I'm like, as if I can just help one person at least to not feel like, how I feel that I just sometimes I just feel like I'm like nothing, like with this disease, like this issue, like I can't do nothing. But I'm like helping somebody talk about it and we're just like, oh, thank you. Like I thought I was alone. And I'm like, no, you're not. So that's the point. You're not. So
Yes.
I'm glad
Yes.
you guys talk with great people as well and have great topics. So I love it. Definitely still something that I look forward to listening to all the time.
Thank you so much.
I'll probably skip this one, but
don't skip this one. You need to listen to this one. But thank you so much. You are amazing, and we're just so happy that you're here and that you took time out of your busy day to come talk to us. And I know that a lot of people are going to benefit from this, like you said, and a lot of the things, and we'll be able to relate to a lot of the things that you talked about for sure.
yeah, I definitely hope, like I said, if I'm just helping one person, and then that makes me feel good, or just having one person like, you know what, that's right, let me just not care what people say, like let me not like let me wear the outfit, let me just do this one thing that I want to do. I don't care what other people say. Like that just makes me feel good for other people. Like it makes me happy when people have that mindset. So hopefully just one person at least. If not, I really, like you said, like it was like a little therapy. We had talks, we know. So I'd enjoy it, and I really really appreciate you guys for thinking of me, and thank you.
Of course, we're glad to have you on, and we really appreciate all the information you shared with us and being so transparent and vulnerable. And if you could share with us where people can find you, where people can find more information about you and see all your amazing fits.
Yeah, I am on Instagram underscore Nona with three A's and three underscores. Very complicated name. That's kind of my go-to platform. Like that's my safe space. I do have TikTok and I kind of post there, but I just can't. I don't know if I'm just kind of more of the older generation or something, but I just can't do TikTok. I try, and I just can't. But you can definitely still follow me on TikTok too. But Instagram is my way to go. I try to always have, lives and just talk about things like this, or just get ready, or just hang out and just kind of keep other minds busy, So definitely Instagram and TikTok.
So if you have any other questions for her, you can go ahead and reach her there. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you guys next week. Thank you
Thank
guys for
you.
tuning in.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.